Hey, Pierce Animal Science class. As you know, or maybe you don't know yet, we are going to start into our unit tomorrow on livestock evaluation, starting with animal anatomy. But for tonight, what I wanted you to do is try to get a little bit more background knowledge. Hopefully by now you've kind of discovered some animal terminology that some maybe you did know, some that you didn't. So now we're going to take that a step farther. As we're evaluating animals of any species, it's always a good idea to know breeds and have a good understanding of what a typical animal of a certain breed looks like. For example, we're going to deal with cattle right now, beef cattle. So for example, maybe if I'm judging a class of Angus heifers, as opposed to a class of Hereford heifers, I would be looking for different characteristics that types of things that would identify that breed and be a high quality animal of that breed. And so what we're going to do first is we're going to talk about a couple of terms that we can use to describe different animals of any kind, really, any species, and we're going to talk about the meanings behind those words, and then I am going to assign you your assignment for tomorrow. So good luck and pay attention. It's going to be a good idea to get your notebook out right now, take some notes while this video is going on, because you're not going to want to miss anything. Alright, so we will see you tomorrow with your completed homework. It better be completed. Thanks. So the first term that we're going to talk about is roan. And roan is when we're going to refer to colors of an animal, and we're going to talk about colors being intermixed throughout the body. Normally it's going to be white and another color. So this first picture here is showing an animal that is actually a purebred animal that is mixed red and white, and that is what we call a red roan. We can also have a crossbred animal, such as this one, that we refer to as a blue roan. Now I realize he's not blue, but that's what we call him, is a blue roan. Now don't confuse it with this type of animal. That animal is not roan, that animal is just red and white. So the next terms we're going to talk about is horned and polled. Now horned, that word kind of speaks for itself. Horned obviously means that an animal has horns. You're not always going to be able to see that. Sometimes the horns might be taken off, whereas a polled animal naturally has no horns, and that's hereditary. That's in their genes, that's in their DNA. So just because you can't visibly see horns on an animal doesn't necessarily mean that it's polled. It could mean that the farmer, the livestock rancher, removed those horns. Now, horned and polled sometimes can be a little bit confusing. So in this first picture you see an animal that has no horns and actually is polled, but then you see an animal that looks pretty much exactly the same but with horns. Now actually those two are two separate breeds. One is a polled Hereford, this one's a polled Hereford, and the one with horns is actually a horned Hereford. And the only way to tell the difference, obviously a horned one, you could obviously tell that it's horned, but the only way to truly tell the difference if one does not have horns, if it's truly a polled Hereford, is what the papers say based on their backgrounds. This next word that we're going to talk about is docile. Now maybe some of you have heard this, maybe some haven't, but when we say the word docile, when we refer to an animal as docile, we mean that animal is very tame. As a producer, docile animals are both good and bad. The good thing obviously is they're going to be a little easier to work with without endangering your life as a producer, whereas it can be bad as when we have mothers out on the pasture, we need those mothers to be a little bit feisty sometimes so that they can maybe fight off predators that are maybe endangering the babies that they've had out on the pasture. And so docility is both good and bad, but it is a good thing to know, and it is hereditary. Alright, so here comes your assignment. All you have to do is start a PowerPoint presentation about your assigned breed. The things that it must include, and you need to write this down. it needs to include the name of your breed. So that'll be the first slide, your title slide. Some of you have joint breeds, such as a horn and a polled variety of that breed. So you'll need to put those both on the front slide. The next thing you'll need is pictures. Definitely, especially if your breed has some variation in the colors, you'll want more than one picture just so we can get a good idea of the physical characteristics of those. Then list the colors, the origin of that species, where did it originate, what country, whether it's horned or polled, and then some other physical characteristics such as like these are really good mothers, or they're really heavy fronted, stuff like that. So as your name is scrolling across, find your name and grab the breed directly across from it and simply get started. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, these are due the start of the class tomorrow. Tomorrow is in Wednesday. We'll present these. You guys will take notes off of each other's PowerPoints. So whenever you're ready to get started, go ahead and get started.